Hi everybody, Caffeinated Crafter here, known as Jody. I have got all the supplies I need today to show you how to use the molding paste. I've been using it a lot lately in some of my projects, cards and whatnot, and I thought I'd just do a quick video on how easy it is to use. Now today I'm going to be using the paste by Golden. You can use any kind of paste you've got. Dreamweaver carries some. There's many different forms. It really is all what you prefer. And of course, I have my cup of coffee here. Woohoo! So I should be good to go. Now I brought out a couple of stencils. This one is actually my favorite and I used it earlier. So I just wanted to show you kind of the end result. I put on a pretty thin layer, which is what I like. Now these stencils that I'm using are like a real thin plastic. If you could certainly use brass templates. They tend to be a little more rigid and a little thicker, so you may have to push the paste into the stencil a little bit more and maybe put on a thicker coat. I prefer these types of stencils, the thin ones, just because I can just get a nice thin coat on it. You know, I don't want a whole, super thick layer. But you could certainly do that if that's what you prefer. And I don't know if you can see, but the layers, it's pretty thin. Like, it's not adding a lot of volume. What I'm actually using is mat board. You could certainly use a heavier cardstock. I would probably recommend that because once you start building layers and putting a lot of stuff on it, I don't think the cardstock is going to hold up as well. So you want a cardstock that's a little heavier weight, something that's got some body. Like I said, I just happened to get this mat board from Hobby Lobby. We actually sell it in packs, different colors. You could gesso it and then have that white starting point. I just got this scraps, actually. It was free, so free is always good. And I'm sure Michael's also carries, they have a framing department, I'm sure they carry something similar. So let's go ahead and get started. A couple of things you want to have on hand. Because the molding paste dries pretty quickly, I don't know if y'all can see it, I've got like a little container of water here. Once I'm done using the paste and the stencils automatically just go into the water. It makes cleanup a heck of a lot easier. So, just going to go ahead and get started here. You could have a palette knife or, that type of different tool. All I've actually got is a piece of cardstock, or not cardstock, like chipboard cardboard that I got from an old package I was using. You want just something with a straight edge. If you're going to use this style, you want chipboard or cardboard, something that's got some weight to it. Cardstock isn't really going to work. It's a little too flimsy to use as a palette knife. Or you could get fancy and actually, use a palette knife. Crazy, I know. Okay, so all I'm doing is just taking a bit of a glob out, and this is actually going to probably be too much. It really goes on I like it super thin. So let's go ahead and we'll just move this here. And all you're doing, it's like you're icing the cake. You're just putting it on here, smoothing it out. Now you could leave it rough and having some texture. I like it smooth. And as you can see, you don't have to always use the whole stencil. You could certainly just use sections of it, and then you just push it in and kind of scrape it away so that it's even like that. And then you just pull it up. And of course it's going right into the water. Now you'll notice here I've got some like gloopiness here on the edge. All you want to do is you can pick it up and just smooth it right out. And I'm just going to take that. And as you can see, I still have quite a lot of molding paste on here. So I'm just going to put this back into the container. And I'm using a craft mat by the Tim Holtz. I'm just going to scooch that out and clean that up a bit. See, I'm humming now because I feel I should have some music. Okay, that was a template I think by Crafters Workshop. Now of course there's still a lot of empty space here, so I'm just going to maybe do a little bit more, something a little more flowery, because that's how I roll. And I probably actually wouldn't even have needed to dip it back in, but I'm just going to pick up a little bit more. And as you can see, I'm not using a lot. This bottle will last me almost forever, I'm sure. And again, I'm just pushing it into the stencil, holding it in place with my fingers. If you wanted to hold it into place, you could put it, secure it with some washi tape. That is perfectly fine. And as you can see, I'm just kind of pushing it in here. And I kind of like having not using the whole stencil, kind of having a, like part of it like distressed almost a little, not really distressed, but there we go. Not having kind of defined edges. And just pull it up. And again, I'm just going to take that and kind of scooch that edge a little bit. Pick that up with my finger, very technical over here. And again, I've still got quite a bit left, so I'm just going to put that right back in there. Like I said, if you had a palette knife, it probably would be a little bit easier. Now you'll see here I've got a straight edge, which I don't like. I'm just going to maybe dab that off a bit. I don't have it quite so there. So, and like I said, you could keep layering. Once this is dry, you could certainly go back and add more layers, add different images, and that's pretty much it. The thinner of a layer that you put on, the quicker it's going to dry. So by the time I finish this video, this will probably be dry. So, I'm now going to work with, and like I said, the stencils went right into the water. Cleanup will be quick and easy just with a paper towel. So this is the one I'm working with now. I was thinking of doing like a steampunk kind of situation. Let me show you quickly another card I was working on. This one I did basically the same kind of technique. This is the finished card here. Now, the reason that I wanted to show it to you is because there's a lot going on here. I've got, you know, the layers of embossing paste, I've got the matte board, I've got, you know, some different poly resin image things from Prima, I've got stamping, you know, baubles, the whole 9 yards. What I would suggest doing is investing, if you're going to do this as a card base, you could certainly do it as a wall hanging. You could just punch a couple of holes, tie a bit of ribbon, and I'm working on something else with regards to that too that actually came out pretty super cool. I would suggest using a heavier weight cardstock. This is actually some cardstock that I bought. It's about 110 pound. So, and it's a linen finish. It's pretty substantial, and that's certainly going to hold your card up nicely. It's not going to, if you have too much going on in the front, what could happen is it could fall down like that. We don't want that. That is bad. So, just as a side note, if you're putting this on a card front, I would certainly suggest using a heavier weight cardstock. You'll be much happier with the results. Okay, so, let me take a sip of coffee because that's how I roll. Ah, delicious. Okay, so what I want to do at this point is actually add some paint and some color, and because it's got like a steampunk theme, I'm actually using, I gotta even open this. Try to do most of this off camera. I'm using the Tim Holtz Distressed Metallics. I like them. I like the distressed paints. I like the fact that they're reacting with the water. It's pretty cool. So, okay. Now, what I do to get a little bit more control over the paints is I actually put them on, rather than putting them directly onto the surface. Okay, sorry, this is just, okay. Now you can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it, but we'll give it a shake. You should be able to hear that ball, and it's got that ball in all of them, and it's mixing up the pigment so you get even distribution. Okay, so I'm just going to give these a quick. Okay, so what you want to do, or the way I do it, is I actually use, to apply the paint, I actually use the what do you call it? The alcohol ink daubers. But instead of using it with felt, I use it with foam. And the nice thing is too, is that once you're done with these just clean up with a quick soap and water, so you can keep reusing them. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the paint onto the craft sheet, just like that. Okay. Ooh, this is going to be good, I hope. Okay. So you can see what I've kind of done there. Just a little bit of glob here. I don't know if you can see it. Okay. Then I'm going to take, mist it, give it a bit of a mist. What this will help do is blend the paints together. And I'm going to pick up the first one. Okay. I'm going to pick up the copper color. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up the silver. Okay, now this is still pretty faint, so I'm actually going to, oh, got a little cat hair there. I'm actually going to apply the paint directly to it and then kind of blend it out. Let's see which one I've got here. Blend it out with that. Now you can see it's kind of hiding a bit of the embossing, so I'm just going to quickly take a paper towel and wipe off the excess paint so more of the embossing in that can show through, which is kind of what I'm wanting. Okay, now I'm going to take, and the water will help blend this. I may even add a bit more because the mat board is really spritzing up the okay. There we go. I'll just blend it out a little bit. That looks pretty cool. Okay, so again, I'm just taking a clean paper towel, kind of dabbing off some of the raised areas, the embossed areas. Oops. Okay, down here a little bit. Okay, so now what I'm going to do at this point, because obviously it's wet, I'm going to dry it a bit, because once these paints, the thing I like about it too is once these paints dry, they're permanent, so that I can go back and add color and add water and nothing will happen to this layer. So I'm going to do that off camera because, you know, it's kind of boring and who wants that. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. It's dry. I'm going to add a bit more color to it. I really like the copper color and I want to add a bit more of that, especially down here, make it a bit darker. And probably a bit more silver too, I really like that. And then of course a bit more gold. Now what I'll probably do is just blend this out a little bit. There we go. And okay, just use my finger. And all else fails. There we go. There, that's kind of the look I'm wanting. Okay, so probably what I will do at this point is just let the rest dry, but as you can see, it's really easy, very quick. Depending on the look you're wanting, you know, you could have applied it, you can see here how I applied it directly to the mat board, how it gave a much more intense color, whereas where I used it here with the dauber, it gave a more muted color and a more blended color. Now again, as you see here, it's covering a little bit of the embossing, so I'm just going to take, there. And you can see the color is still showing through from the gold because that layer is dry. Pretty cool. Okay. Now, also at this point, if you wanted to even go further with it, you could certainly go back in once this dries, go back in with some distressed inks, with more stenciling. I'm pretty happy though the way this is because I'm going to be adding some stamped images and a bunch of other stuff onto it, so this is basically the stopping point for me. I hope this helps and gave you kind of an introduction into the molding paste and some of the fun things you could do with it. And if we go back to, this is the one I did earlier. It's a little bit tacky, but it's pretty much dry, and it's only been about 5 or 6 minutes. Something else you could certainly also do to the molding paste if you maybe didn't want white, you could certainly put additives into it. And what I mean by this is like pigment color, perfect pearls, anything like that. You could certainly add to this to match the color to whatever project you're working on, which would be kind of cool. And that may be another video that I'm going to do. Anyway, gotta go enjoy the rest of my coffee. Hope you guys have a great day and happy crafting.